Tonight on Dispatches. Oh, what's going wrong on the UK's roads?
This area is officially pothole hell.
We take on the potholes that are driving us potty.
It's worse than a third world country. It's terrible.
We demand fair roads!
There you go.
We investigate the traffic schemes that are dividing our neighbourhoods.
Why are you locking up half the road?
Jesus Christ.
This social injustice!
And did it reduce the traffic here?
Absolutely not. It was an absolute nightmare.
And we reveal the cost of charging an electric car.
Da-da-da-da! Oh!
That's ridiculous. Absolutely staggering, yeah.
We ask, is this the worst time ever to be a British driver? This is East Sussex, the sun peeking through the trees, the sound of leaves in the breeze, majestic landscapes, connected by roads, covered with equally majestic potholes. East Sussex's potholes are rumoured to be amongst the worst in the country, and I do hope my chosen vehicle is up to the task.
Meet the G-Wagon, designed with military service in mind, made famous by celebrity fans like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This car was built for the battlefield, but the question is, can it survive the roads of East Sussex? As you can see, this is a real rugged SUV. In fact, it once did serve in the German army. It's the G-Wagon versus the roads of Sussex. And, ooh! I'm not sure the G-Wagon is winning. Oh, gosh, there's a big one. Ah! I mean, they're impossible to avoid here. They're on each side of the road, in the middle, out to the side. It's so bad here to my left. It's completely cut off, and there's a load of wheel rims. This is like wacky races.
We wanted to know just how bad Britain's pothole crisis is.
Oh!
So Dispatches sent freedom of information requests to the 206 councils responsible for UK roads.
The problem is that they're just constant.
167 councils responded, with East Sussex paying over £337,000 in pothole compensation to drivers since last year, putting them in the top 3.
Oh gosh, somebody's word a warning sign, they've broken down. Oh my God, it's a pothole.
For the same period, the total pothole compensation bill to these councils was over £4 million.
I'm calling it. This area is officially pothole hell.
On the edge of pothole hell, there lives a man called Russ, who, legend has it, is a bit of a pothole superhero.
Hi, Russ.
Hiya.
Nice to meet you.
And you?
I came pothole ready, as you can see.
You should have bought a tank.
It's almost a tank,
But
to
yeah,
be
you
fair.
do need it.
So I've just driven past somebody who is broken down right outside the front of your place.
Okay, only one.
Just
Yeah,
really?
yeah, we've had a lot more than one at any one time. If there's just one out there, it's a good day.
The bad phone reception has made Russ's home a beacon of hope for motorists who've been potholed. As many as 9 in a single day.
I can show you on my phone.
Let's have a look.
Yep, I'll show you. This is some footage we got from our Ring doorbell. This is me going out to a lady that had broken down.
Oh, Russ.
There's 3 cars on our driveway.
There's literally a queue of people
Yeah.
that have hit potholes waiting for a place of sanctuary.
That's it. And look, this one here of an evening, these are coming at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Look, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And actually, look.
Just coming up looking for help.
To give us a sense of life in this picturesque corner of East Sussex, Russell takes us on a guided tour of some of the most impressive potholes in the area.
The amount of people that are getting punches on that particular hole is incredible. Look how deep it is, look. Crazy. As you can see, when the cars come down, they've got no option but to go through this hole when the car's coming the other way. Look, you watch. There you go. He'd be up there now, probably with a flat tyre. Look. This is how they're doing their repairs. Look, this is a repair. You know? Every repair just falls apart. It's ridiculous.
Since we filmed, this pothole has been repaired. Whether it will live up to Russ's standards remains to be seen. All over East Sussex, people are at their wits' end about the state of the roads. There's even a local campaign group.
To be honest, we're just so fed up with it. You know, some of these holes, they're not like little potholes, they're giant big craters. We've even started naming them. People know if you say, oh, the Ridge Crater.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of anger, but there's a cost impact in a cost of living crisis, drivers who are losing out because of the constant repairs they're having to undertake on their cars, and there's a real stress that everyone's feeling, and it's just ruining people's lives, basically.
Of all the issues affecting drivers today, time and time again, it's the state of local roads that really irks people. If we look at East Sussex, I'm afraid the picture is pretty bleak, but again, it's copied right across councils across the country. If we look at B, C and unclassified roads in East Sussex, only 0.4% of those were resurfaced over a 12-month period, and only 1.4% were surface dress. So we're talking really tiny numbers here.
East Sussex County Council told us to deal with a growing number of potholes over the 2023 winter period, we employed nearly 3 times the usual number of crews to carry out repairs. To repair every pothole would cost about 4 times our current spend and place an even greater burden on council taxpayers. Whilst our aim is to get it right first time, there are a number of factors that can lead to a pothole repair failing, but only a small percentage of potholes have to be re-repaired. We have invested an additional £15.7 million this year to help improve the condition of East Sussex roads. The councils that responded to our Freedom of Information requests said they received over 1 million reports of potholes last year. Those councils spent £56 million on reactive pothole repairs alone. Incredibly, given the scale of the problem, 40% of these councils said they don't have a segregated pothole budget outside of general road repairs. Nearly a third of councils with pothole budgets said they overspent, with some forking out 2 or 3 times more than they'd set aside. Meanwhile, in the 12 months up to March this year, the RAC attended 27,000 pothole incidents on Britain's roads, a 9% increase.
We've got this customer's car in today and he's hit a bump in the road and now he's got a loud noise.
So it sounds like it's pothole damage. Is that something
It definitely looks that way, yeah. I mean, the roads are, in reality, they are shocking. We looked at some data a couple of days ago and we've seen a double the amount of suspension arms fitted from this time last year.
And are these expensive fixes for
It
people?
can be, vehicle dependent. One failed component here could be a fair few £100s to replace correctly.
So you might be one of the very few people that I can think of who actually don't mind potholes because they're quite good for business.
Great for business, absolutely fantastic for business, but our customers don't feel the same way.
No.
The RAC has calculated pothole repair can cost motorists up to £460. We wrote to all 48 UK police forces and can reveal that between January 2023 and March this year, 11 of them racked up over £80,000 in pothole repair bills. As we mentioned, councils told us they paid over £4 million in compensation to ordinary drivers in the same period. But based on 79 councils who provided us with the information, they rejected a whopping 80% of claims. Dispatches has also discovered that's partly because when you hit a pothole, councils need to agree that it was, in fact, a pothole.
We've done some research with dispatches looking into the issue of what actually defines a pothole in one part of the country to another. And it's a completely and utterly mixed picture. In some cases, councils are very upfront. In other places, there's zero information from councils as to what is a pothole. And it seems crazy that depending on where you live, you might have one council treating you one way if you were to hit a pothole and another council treating you completely differently.
The government recently pledged £8.3 billion from its abandoned HS2 project to tackle potholes. But recent analysis by an economic consultancy suggested potholes are costing the economy in England £14.4 billion a year.
We don't feel, actually, the national government at the moment has got a proper grip on just how bad the situation out on our roads really is. And in fact, £8.3 billion, while it sounds like a lot, is staggered over the course of a decade. And all that would be enough to do would be to resurface Essex's roads and leave the rest of the country's roads exactly as they are today.
The Department for Transport told us our additional £8.3 billion is the biggest ever increase in funding for local highways maintenance, enough to resurface the equivalent of over 5,000 miles of roads across the country. Local authorities received the first £150 million of this increase in October and will receive a further £150 million this year. We're also requiring local councils to publish regular reports of which roads they are resurfacing with this extra money, so taxpayers can see how their money is being spent by their local council. The Local Government Association told us councils are on the side of all road users and want to focus on properly resurfacing our roads. Councils would much prefer to focus on preventative repairs. The government should award council highways departments 5 yearly funding allocations to develop resurfacing programmes and other improvements to help prevent potholes in the first place. Coming up, we'll see how potholes aren't the only obstacles making life miserable for British motorists.
Why are you locking up half the roads?
We've seen how potholes have got drivers' blood pressure up all over the nation.
It's worse than a third world country.
We demand fair rights!
There you go.
Meanwhile, in our cities, there are other obstacles that have literally become a battleground.
I have traded in the G-Wagon for something a little more me. A two-seater, all-electric, compact car that is perfect for urban life. Might not be quite so good over potholes, though, but it is brilliant for local air quality.
And local air quality is something that's been on the minds of many councils in recent years. Among the solutions they've come up with to stop cars driving through residential areas are traffic enforcement cameras and plant pots. I've been doing a little digging, forgive the expression, into local government's penchant for on-street gardening. Low Traffic Neighbourhoods, or LTNs for short, are a laudable idea. Safer streets, cleaner air, and a recent government report found people are generally in favour. So why then are they being set on fire?
Social injustice!
Another day and another death blow against the car.
Why am I paying road tax for you to lock off half the road?
Jesus Christ.
This is the friendly community of Withington in Manchester. In August 2023, the council introduced an LTN here to stop rat running, reduce pollution and encourage an active lifestyle for the local community. But soon, residents questioned whether the scheme had been properly thought through and successfully campaigned to have it removed. This included the planters, or modal filters, which used to be outside to hear Jeffrey's house.
Basically, what we had is we had a set of modal filters. So if you can picture a set of planters going all the way across to the other side of the road.
And did it reduce the traffic here?
Absolutely not. It was an absolute nightmare. What we found was that it wasn't reducing traffic, it was dispersing traffic.
I mean, it strikes me that there isn't a lot of traffic around here in the first place.
Yeah, as you can see.
Do you think it was needed?
Not at all. It was literally like it is today. Even if you go back 7 months ago, it was the same. So why they introduced a scheme such as that in a very quiet neighbourhood is beyond my imagination.
Despite the council's best intentions, there were significant gaps in their preliminary research into the scheme. Katerina Krishkovich is a Withington resident and a specialist in active travel schemes like LTNs, having consulted on similar projects.
So, Katerina, what did you see after the scheme was installed? Did it have the impact you were expecting?
Well, some streets saw a reduction in traffic flows, while other streets, in particular the boundary roads and the roads to the south and east of the scheme, they saw an increase in traffic.
Do you think it was busy enough to warrant LTNs being put in there?
Well, we haven't seen any evidence in terms of data collected that there was any rationale for the scheme. There was no data collected on pedestrian flows, on cycle flows, on journey times. The council should have provided evidence that there is a problem with through traffic through the neighbourhood, but this hasn't been done.
We wanted to know if Withington was an isolated case, so we asked all UK councils if they had any traffic reducing schemes. Of the 31 who told us they did, 42% said they had no prior monitoring or evaluation reports for the trial schemes they'd installed. And so far, 18% of the country's LTNs have been dismantled. Manchester City Council told us, while data in Withington did show there were improvements being made, it was clear from feedback that the majority of people surveyed were not satisfied with how it had been implemented. Throughout this entire scheme, the council has wanted to make sure that local residents had a voice in how their community was shaped. 2 filters have been retained and the council will be monitoring their impact. Safety has always been what the council aimed to achieve with this scheme. The average cost of installing an LTN is nearly £260,000. Now, that might be expensive, but there is a silver lining for councils. Our Freedom of Information request revealed that 16 UK councils have issued fines for LTN infractions, totalling over £118 million since January 2023. Great for pedestrians and cyclists, not so great if you're a driver. The Local Government Association told us, councils want to take a balanced approach to ensuring that motor traffic keeps moving, whilst protecting other road users so that everyone can benefit from safer streets. Any surplus income from traffic fines has to be spent on local transport improvements by law, such as providing vital bus services or highways improvement, including fixing potholes.
Improving local air quality was behind the implementation of loads of LTNs. But in the future, we won't have to worry about that because we'll all be driving electric cars. And the bonus is they'll be cheaper to run. Or will they?
I'm from the Manchester area and I know that driving around the city centre can be a nightmare. So I've left my electric car behind and I'm going to take an electric taxi. Driven by taxi tour guide John Considine.
Hi, John. I love how you silently sweep in.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's a hybrid, so it's petrol and electric.
Are you going to take me on
We're going to do a little tour down your memory lane.
Love it.
Because you're very famous around here, aren't you?
I don't know about that. Infamous.
John is clearly a connoisseur of Manchester and its famous faces. In fact, he's the only green taxi tour guide in the city.
Do you know this little church, Ginny, on the right-hand side? Very important in Manchester's musical history because in the 1980s, this became a recording studio.
Stock Aitken and Waterman.
And what song was recorded?
I don't know.
Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down.
It's all coming back to me now. Why did you make the move into an electric taxi? What benefits did you think it would bring?
I could see the vehicle is a lot cleaner, it's a lot quieter, so it ticked so many boxes.
But recently, John has become increasingly frustrated by the rising cost of the UK's public charging network, in particular, fast chargers.
The general complaint is the price.
Really?
The price is just incredible and it's just not worth it. And it sort of defeated the object of having an electric taxi because you tend to use the electric that you've got of your home charger and then you just run on petrol. Very, very rarely will I use the on-street charger. It's about
8 or 9 times dearer than it is charging at your home.
Do you think it's cheaper on petrol or on the public charging network?
On petrol. There's no comparison because the street charges are just so expensive.
One of the big selling points for electric cars has been the idea that they're cheaper to run than a petrol car. But according to the RAC, that's no longer necessarily the case if you can't charge at home.
According to our figures, you might pay more per mile to charge up at those quickest chargers than you would if you were to maintain and keep running your petrol or diesel car. So there is a real inequity here between the haves, the people who can charge up at home, and the have-nots.
More than a quarter of the UK don't have off-street parking. So we took the RAC's April figures and turned them into a little game to see if the British public are aware of how much fast charging can cost.
If you are reliant on a petrol car, the RAC has worked out that it's 17 pence per mile. If you can charge at home in your electric car, that price drops to just 7 pence per mile. If you can't charge at home and you're reliant on using the fast chargers, how much do you think it would be? 15? 9 pence per mile. So you're going 10 to 12 pence. OK, shall I show you?
Yeah.
Let me flip our little...
Wow.
Da-da-da-da. Oh, 22 pence.
That's ridiculous.
Does that surprise you that it's so much more? It's more than 3 times.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely staggering, yeah.
Would it surprise you if I told you that one of the reasons it's more expensive is that there is 5% VAT on the energy you get at home, 20% VAT on the energy you take from a charger?
Wow, I didn't know that. Not really encouraging people to move to electric cars, is it?
The Department for Transport told us, on average, charging an EV on a public network is around the same as fueling a petrol car. And we've made it easier to compare prices across charging networks so drivers can get the best value. Charge UK told us. Charge UK members are committed to providing affordable charging. We are deploying new chargers at record pace and ahead of demand to support the transition to EVs. Government can make public charging even more affordable by addressing VAT on public charging and by tackling the recent surge in standing charges that public operators must pay on electricity, which have seen costs rocket by as much as 300% in the last 12 months. Whilst the UK's transition to electric is fast approaching, it's not moving fast enough. And this could have dire consequences for our domestic automotive industry. Motorists can continue to buy new petrol and diesel cars until 2035. But electric car manufacturers like Stellantis, who own Vauxhall and Peugeot, have been given a different timescale. I was granted a rare interview with the head of Stellantis UK to discuss what this might mean.
The UK government has pushed back the ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars to 2035. But the reality is that for car makers selling cars in the UK, you're going to have to move at a different pace, aren't you?
Completely. From a customer viewpoint, you don't have the urgency. For a manufacturer, the difference is the ZEV mandate.
The ZEV mandate is a government directive requiring all UK car makers to ensure that by 2030, 80% of their vehicle sales are electric. Failure to comply means hefty fines.
The fines are very high, £15,000 per car. Dealers are very motivated in selling electric vehicle, but then you need the demand. And in this moment, the offer is not aligned with the demand at all.
Does the ZEV mandate make the UK an attractive place to do business for a global company?
No. The straight answer to your question is no.
So could potentially, as a direct consequence of the ZEV mandate, there could be a risk to jobs here in the UK, to British jobs in automotive?
Yes.
Why?
Because we are doing heavy investment in this country. But if it does not work, then our set of investment could be subject to review. It's a fact.
Stellantis employs over 5,000 people in the UK and operates 2 manufacturing sites. So the idea of them reviewing their UK operations is really quite worrying. The Department for Transport told us, "We have extensively engaged with industry before launching our zero-emission vehicle mandate to ensure it works for companies at different stages in the transition process, which we continue to support and have already invested more than £2 billion into." There's no doubt that today British motorists are angry and looking for answers to the long list of problems on our roads.
From low traffic neighbourhoods to potholes that are literally ruining the roads of the UK, to the switch to electric vehicles, there are so many challenges facing UK drivers. Whoever it is that ends up in there, goodness me, they've got their work cut out for them.